Hi, I'm Bao Phi, Vietnamese-American spoken word artist from Minnesota, and this is Behind the Fifth. I was born in Vietnam maybe 3 months before the communists kind of marched in. The night before we left, I was a baby and we were in a bomb shelter. They were just shelling it, trying to kill us before we escaped. And I went from that to being raised in Minneapolis's poorest, largest, and most racially diverse neighborhood, Phillips, right around the same time that the American Indian movement sprouted there in the mid-70s. That's the environment I grew up in. I grew up loving books because I wanted toys and Atari and my parents couldn't afford it. But there was a library right in Phillips. My formative high school years were 89 to 93. People asked me to join speech team to be part of the debate part of speech team, but I was interested in art. I was interested in creative writing. I was interested in theater. And there was a category called creative expression, where it was one of the few categories that you could write a creative piece and perform it yourself. And for some reason I was really attracted to that. My family loves art. Vietnamese culture, we love poetry, we love literature. Like, you can go to Vietnam and everyone from a government official to someone who works in the fields will be able to recite epic Vietnamese poems, like word for word, right? America, you can't find people who do that, right? I can't do that. But in America, because I was the youngest son in a poor refugee family, we were in survival mode. I think the imperative for my parents were, you have to find a profession where you can take care of yourself and your family, hopefully, but at least take care of yourself. And there's no way you can do that as an artist. It's hard for people of color to get published. It's hard for people of color to be taken seriously. It's both external and internal. So externally, you might not get published, right? Internally, you have to fight against this thing where you're telling yourself, no one cares about my voice, nobody takes it seriously. Well, honestly, Song I Sing is a collection of a lot of my work that I've been working on for 12 or more years, and a lot of it is work that I've been performing for quite a while as a spoken word artist. Each poem and each section of the book represents different parts of my life and my politic and my development. It's about saying that our people and our history is so much more than Miss Saigon in the Vietnam War, and that for every Vietnamese body we have a story. If you get 200 Vietnamese Americans in a room, you have 200 different stories. And I don't want to oversimplify that. Like, you'll also get a tremendous amount of interconnection, right, in those 200 bodies. And so, my current work is that. Like, if you got 200 Vietnamese Americans in a room, what are the similarities and what are the differences? I never thought I was going to be a spoken word poet. I never thought that you could get paid to do this, that you could travel and people would pay to see you perform. Like, there was no model for it, But I knew I loved it, and I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. And mentally I thought to myself, if this means I work at a grocery store or a restaurant or, the post office, and this is what I do on the side, so be it, Like, I was ready for that. Fortunately for me, things have worked out really well, and I do have a full-time job, but my full-time job is in literature, so I feel like I'm very blessed. I guess the only advice I would say is that if you're doing this, you gotta do it for the love, because you can't do it for the money, because there's such a small chance that you're gonna be able to find a way to support yourself, and that's just the honest truth. And so you really have to want to do it. And that being said, if you really want to do it, then you kind of just have to keep doing it. Like, you can't let anything stop you, even if that means finding a way to do it while finding another way to pay the bills. You know what I mean? One thing that I would really encourage people to do is to care about something. I would prefer care about your people. For APIAs, it's so hard in this country. I feel like no one looks out for us. I always encourage APIAs to really look at our community and see, how we're being silenced, how we're being ignored, how we're being rendered invisible, and really stick up for one another, listen to each other's stories, organize with each other, build community with each other.